All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next Geek Psychology live stream. We're going to talk to Alia Knight, an INTP female, which is requested a lot. More female personalities, more female perspectives. And so I think it'll be a very good one. I'll let her in a second. I was having some technical difficulties. I know she was having some issues as well. So we'll get that started very soon. And before that, it's time for that intro. All right. So welcome back. Thank you very much for coming. And Ali, are you ready? Can I let you in? You just give me a thumbs up whenever you are, okay? All right. So today, yes, we're talking about INTPs and what that is like. What is it like to be an INTP? Because for me, as an INFP, things are a bit jumbled up. They're a bit different. I'm definitely a more emotional, or let's say feeling and values and conviction-driven person. Whereas INTPs are generally more logical and precise with the words and the information that they're trying to bring out into the world. So Alia, give me that thumbs up and I'll let you in. All right, here we go. All right.
Hello.
Cool. How you doing?
Good. It's been a crazy day.
Yeah.
Everything breaks when you need it the most.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got it worked out.
Yeah. I was having, like I said, some difficulties too. I got it all loaded up, and then it kept saying like I was having internet issues, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just refresh it, and then it's like you can't get back in. I had to close everything out, and they have like another step to log in.
I just did my own stream today, and probably 45 minutes after, I was like, why is everything suddenly slow? And reaching out to my provider, and they're like, oh, there's an outage. It's like, not why today, right now.
Yeah, of course. Are you on your phone then?
No, I work at Intel, and so I was like, you know what? Let me just go there, because for whatever reason, my apartment has horrible service just off the regular network. So I was like, I'm gonna go to work early and just sit in a conference room, utilize like good Wi-Fi, and get this going.
Right. Cool.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining. Thanks for coming here to talk about your personality type and just kind of what life is like for an INTP. So this will be fun. And so just kind of a little bit of background for everybody for how I know you. You play tested the Path of Heroes tabletop game a little while back. So that's kind of how that connection started. So thank you very much for that. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about just who you are in general? And then we can kind of get into talking about cognitive functions and see if anybody has questions and things like that too.
Sure. Well, for one, it was fun playing that. It was my first time actually in a game. It was a struggle at times because I'm definitely more of like, they said, I'm more of a thinker than just doing things. So it's like in the moment, it's like make a decision. I was like, but there's like 2,000 options. I don't know. Be specific. So that was a struggle at times.
Is that a common thing?
Yeah.
Where you're like, make a decision, but I see all these different possibilities. How can I make the best or the correct decision?
Sometimes it's not as hard. Like if I'm more familiar with it, then it's like I know there's only a handful of options. Like my day-to-day job is troubleshooting and repairing machines. So it's like once I'm familiar with it, we're good. But if it's a new scenario, if I don't have enough detail, if I'm not familiar, I haven't done enough research, it's like, well, do you mean this way or this way? When you want me to go up, do you mean up vertically or do you mean up like forward? Like explain these things to me. So it was a bit of a struggle with that type of game. But it was still fun. In terms of who I am, background about me, I feel like the epitome of a nerd most of the time. Grew up book nerd. That's all I did was read books, go to the library. Went to a math and science high school, so I did like computer science, robotics there, and I worked in the library most of the time. Like I would skip lunch so I could go work in the library, which was that's where I met my good friends.
That's cool.
And then after that, I went to college, studied robotics for a couple of years, and then just lived life. And now, a few years ago, I left. I was like, I need to do better in life. I want more for myself. I want to achieve my potential. I want to do all these things. So I left the job I was at, ended up getting a job at Intel, working there. And then it happened again. I was like, I need to get more. I need to be better and smarter and just know all the things. So I went back to school. And now, due to the world circumstances, I came back to my old job. Different scenario. So it worked out better. But I'm in the same job location, more or less. But I'm also doing school online. So it's like this weird. I just know the word.
It's just a weird.
Yes, a weird.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like learning and kind of, self-educating as well has been something that's kind of been a running theme throughout your life. Is that true?
One of my goals in life. So there's this, Merlin, the wizard to King Arthur.
I do. Yeah.
I was obsessed with all of the King Arthur stories growing up as a child. And one of my life goals is to become Merlin, basically. I just want to know all the things. I want to know everything. And then one day I'm just going to go off in the woods or some version of just isolation in whatever modern terms, which I guess nowadays is just stay at home. And I'll just, learn more things, create new things, experiment. And then when someone comes to me and they're like, I need your knowledge, then I will see if they're worthy and give them the knowledge. Yes, exactly. Yeah. But this ultimately my life goal. I tell people I am a modern alchemist because I'm trying to know everything and test the limits and see how these things that are so different can blend together into something that's the root of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That was a very well said, summary of INTP personality type. That's so cool. Yeah, I used to. I kind of went around how do I explain this? Kind of a different way of approaching personality type. I was taking NT, and I said those are ENTP, ENTJ, all those INTJ, INTP. They're alchemists. And I said that's the alchemist class or profession is how I used it. And the SFs are herbalists, and STs are armor smiths, or those kind of things, and NFs were enchanters. And so I like that you brought that up yourself, that alchemy.
Yeah, the more time goes, the more it just makes sense to me. Where it's there's this balance that you have to keep. You can't go too much in one way or another, or else you're missing out on knowledge on the opposite sides. You gotta have this balance where it's then I'm looking out for knowledge and growth at the end of the day. And then also people who know me, I'm super into technology. All I do is code and build robots and I am the nerd. But on the other side, it's I'm gonna drink my herbal tea and play in my garden and do all this stuff. And there's this middle point that it's trying to find where it's these both make sense and they're on the completely opposite sides of the spectrum, but somehow they still meet in the middle. So trying to decode where they meet.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's so much in there. Another thing, I guess before we get into that a little bit more, I was doing I do hypnosis and stuff like that. And I was doing a hypnosis thing with somebody else, and we were in the mindscape, so in this landscape, and she brought out a guide for her to navigate through, and the guide was Merlin, and she was like, "Yeah, well, it's Merlin, but," and we talked to him within the hypnosis trance and everything, and asked what his goal was for her. Like, why is he there? What does he do for her? And she said he's an alchemist. And this was just like 2 days ago. I was like, really?
It's all falling into place.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, I see a lot of like taking all these ideas, taking all these things, this information, and kind of recombining it into some new discovery or some, way of thinking about things. Is that kind of how it works for you?
Yeah, I
Like
think
collecting ideas, collecting information, and then kind of like, well, it goes like this. You put them
yeah,
together.
I think so. That's kind of the path I'm on. So just for a little more background, I said I'm really into robotics. Like robots are the future. Whether it's a good future or bad future is yet to be known. But either way, I'm still gonna build them. We'll figure that out later. When I was younger, I ended up getting invited to go to this NASA event. When I went there, I was with a bunch of like administrators, staff, astronauts, all sorts. It was the same year WALL-E came out. So we all sat there, me as like middle schooler, with all these important NASA people. We're all watching WALL-E. And I was like, this is my goal in life. I'm going to build cute, adorable robots that save humanity. And that's all I've been kind of working towards this time in one form or another. And what I noticed is when you go to like college or you're learning about things, everything's divided into specialties, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can either go into electronic engineering, mechanical engineering, software engineering, physics, astrophysics, whatever the case. But I was like, it doesn't make sense to me why you would do that, because, and maybe I'm more of a Renaissance person. Like my idol in life is Leonardo da Vinci. That's a whole other conversation. He's my homie. It just makes sense where it's like, well, if I'm working to build a robot, I have to know all these things anyway. So, like for instance, now with school, I'm studying more of the software side. But outside of school, whether it's at work or at home, I'm doing more electronics and mechanics so that it all blends in and can build up to building a robot. So, I mean, that's just in terms of like my career, quote unquote. But definitely in general, I'm always trying to be like, how can this piece fit into this piece? And just always trying to make things better and improve things, whether it's things, people, circumstances. Like, you got to move forward in life. That's how time is. Change is the only constant.
Okay, I thought that was okay. Something else that's really cool that you said is like you wanted to build a robot that you said helps humanity. Yeah, that sounds like such a pull of your dominant function, right? Introverted thinking, the analyzing adept within the RPG model, and the inferior and aspirational function, extroverted feeling, the unifying envoy, right? Like, I need to figure out this technical aspect of things, and then that kind of underlying or another driving goal of that is to help humanity, help people be unified in some way, or save the world, or whatever it is.
It's very interesting because it's such a conflict for me. On one side, the introvert is like, I do not care at all.
Yeah.
Like, people, like, just go away, leave me alone. Let me play with my machines. I don't care what happens. Let me read my books. Like, just back up. And another side is like, but I have to build these robots to take us to space, and I have to build these shields to protect us from meteors, and I have to do these things to make like our bodies more efficient and live longer. Like all this. So it's this weird middle point where it's like, as I tell people, I'm very into space as well. I'm a big space nerd, of course. And I'll just look at the stars because it gives you perspective. And it makes you realize how small you are. But because of that, it makes you realize at the same time, like, how things ripple out and how one small thing can affect others. So it's like, I may not pay as much attention to the day-to-day, like helping this one person and this one person and those type things. It's more like, what can I do now to ripple into the future and have a bigger effect later?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Always playing with what emerges from different, experiences and different ideas and kind of that bigger picture. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love the stars too. I love just kind of looking out there. When I lived in Michigan, you could
See
see all
everything.
the stars. In
Yeah.
Tokyo, not so much. Not
No.
so much. I mean, where I am, I got a good view, but there's a lot of light pollution.
Yeah, it depends. Right now I'm in Arizona. It's pretty good most nights where I can see at least the major constellations. And um yeah, I do it all the time where people will just be like, "You're just sitting out here looking at the sky." And I'm like, "Yeah, of
Damn
course.
right.
Why why aren't you sitting out here looking at the sky? What do you
Mm,
mean?"
okay. Cool. Yeah, it sounds like once again a lot of using technology, using science, using you know ideas, understanding of things to help other people on a larger scale, right? So how about like one-on-one? Are you kind of like, yeah? What's your relationship to that? To proactively like supporting another person or helping them when you see a need or something like that?
More challenging
Mm,
because I think I've had a lot of experiences in life where I'll know things, people might reach out to me about them, but their reaction wasn't kind of what I expected. It was like, "I need your help." "Okay, I'm gonna help you." "Well, I already knew this, or I already know that, or like, you don't explain that." I'm like, "Well, why did you ask for help?" And so he kind of made me back off a little bit. Nowadays, my thing is I'm not one to reach out, which is just even just in general, I'm not an introvert or extrovert. I don't reach out to people. I wait till they reach out to me. And then I'm like, "Yeah, sure, we can do this." But otherwise, it has to be something very extreme for me to actively reach out to someone about like, "Yeah, see, this is happening," or sounds interesting. But otherwise, it's like, if you come to me, I got you. I'll do what I can to make stuff work. I help you to the best of my ability. Here, even at my job, like I see areas that may need help, and I may go assist them more passively, but I won't directly like put myself in the middle of it because it's just because I think that things aren't going well doesn't mean that's the reality of the situation. And I also just don't want to overstep where it's like I know I do have that tendency to come off as know it all at times, and I don't want to. It's a hard balance again. So it's like I would rather wait for you to come to me and actually show that you need the help rather than me like try to put myself in and it's like, "What are you doing?"
right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, has that happened? I mean, you don't need to go into the story, but has that happened before where you kind of misread somebody needing some support or help or something like that, and then you're like, well, I'm going to go help, and then it just kind of a misread of the social situation or the other
Yeah.
person's emotions or something like that?
I actually can't think of a specific time, but I will say there were there's probably 4 years that I was a waitress. And it was the most struggle as an introvert who doesn't like to approach people.
Yeah.
When your whole job is to talk to people and approach them, it was the highest learning curve I've ever done. And
Yeah.
there's tons of times with that. But definitely, there have been many situations where it's like misread the situation, no one needed the help, or not as much as you interpreted, or perhaps they do need the help. Some people just aren't ready to receive it, and so they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"No, it's fine." And you have to wait till things explode to go and
Uh-huh.
fix it, which I think is
Yeah.
probably the more default for me these days. It seems not on purpose, but that seems to be a lot of the cases lately, where it's people don't want to reach out for help, and I get it because I myself don't.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
definitely a lot of like cleaning up the mess more than
Yeah.
anything.
Mm. Yeah, there's always so many like threads of different
I,
paths that
it's a
I want
lot.
to take the conversation. Um, yeah. Okay. So with the being a waitress, right? You said that was a big learning curve, right? Are you pretty good at taking those kind of experiences and shifting them into like a learning, like to build more confidence or more understanding about something?
Yeah. At first, like I said, it was hard
Mm-hmm.
because for one, any customer service job is just horrible, especially in the food industry. I'm like, it changes you as a person, but it did make me stronger. Whereas, like, looking back, didn't have any communication skills at all back then. Like, it was completely bad. And now it's like, I'll be like keynote speaker or event host or panelist on different type of things. So it's like, I think that was probably the biggest way for me to learn how to communicate with people. In terms of learning though, I have this learning style, I guess, that I came up with. It's kind of how I live my life as a whole when it comes to learning, which is observe, emulate, adapt. And that is like my motto for life.
I like that.
Thank you. I'll trademark it eventually. But yeah, write that down. But basically to break it, I wrote like a whole blog article about it. We'll get into that. But
cool. Share it with me later and I'll put it in the comments.
Okay, cool.
If that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always down for more views. Share the wisdom. But the basic premise of it is, observe. I come across, when people first meet me, I come across just like a mouse, I guess. Like I may be super intense, but I won't say a word. And it's because I'm trying to sponge up the information. Like I don't need to do anything except pay attention and learn as much as possible and memorize or whatever. Then I adapt or I emulate it. From what they taught me or whatever I read, I copy it to the T, like as close as possible. And once I do it one time, sometimes two, depending on the complexity, but usually once I get through it one time, start to finish exactly as I learned it, then I have it. Like it's just down and I'm good.
That's so cool.
And it's interesting. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes. And then after that, once I've gotten it down, that one time, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then from then on, it's just pure adaptation, which I think is like the root of becoming an adult. It's just learning how to adapt as well and as quickly as possible because life is crazy. And
adapt to what? Just anything, or adapt to people, adapt to new ideas, adapt to.
I think in overall, like I think people who don't adapt to situation well don't go about life as like things don't their growth. If there was like a chart, their line of growth, their slope, wouldn't be as high if you can't adapt because there's always the thing about life, like I said before, change is constant. There's always going to be something going on. There's always going to be bumps in the road, things to overcome, challenges in your way. If you don't know how to adapt to those type of things, they're just going to keep stopping you and it's going to put you behind. So I think in order to grow up as an adult, like you got to learn how to deal with situations when they come up. And if you can't, then it will set you back in life. So yeah, but that's what I do with just everything. Once you got it down that way that you're taught the first time, then you can start iterating on it your own way. And that's how you get from like being an apprentice and just entry level or knowing at a basic level to actually like mastering something where I can come in and teach others.
Yeah. I know a lot of NTs and NTPs are really focused on like self-mastery or mastery of an idea or of a craft or whatever it is. So yeah, and you said it yourself too. So I think that's really cool. All right. So we got a question, kind of a two-part question. So let me see here. So this is the first part, and then there's one specifically for you after that. Okay. So it's from Nick. He says, "Hey Matt, I'm a fellow 4-wing 5 INFP. You ever feel like you're too logical about your emotions or experience something similar to this? I've been mistyped as INTP a few times. Wonder if you've experienced. So yeah, I've spent so much time, like when I was younger, just trying to remove all of my emotions and just be as robotic as possible. Because I felt that anytime an emotion came out, there was potential that it would hurt somebody else or that I would get hurt with it too. And so like it was definitely like a when I was younger, I was just swimming in all these different emotions and I had no idea what was going on. And I felt like really just lost. And yeah, I got to a point where I was like, every experience I have, somebody else gets hurt. And that's not actually true, but those are the ones that I like held on to, right? And so I just kind of like, well, I'm just going to take myself out of the picture. I'm not going to bring any emotions into this. I'm going to try to just keep them all away, keep people away, keep emotions away, in order to just make sure that everybody else is okay and I can handle my own stuff. I can figure out my own emotions. And so there's a lot of internal processing of trying to figure out where does this emotion, where does this feeling, where does this value belong within me and in the puzzle of myself. And, feeling is a rational function, right? So it's a way of making judgments on the information that you bring in. And so there is reason behind it. It's not the same as the logical reason that you use, Alia. But it's like there is a method behind the madness, right? And so part of that process of understanding all my values and my emotions and stuff was to put them together in a way that I understood myself at a deeper level. And then when I was able to do that, and I changed some mindsets around, I was able to say, okay, this is the kind of person I am in the world. This is the identity that I am aligned with, that I want to bring out. And things got a lot better when I reopened myself, when I like added more humanity into that robot shell that I tried to create, but it really wasn't a robot. Like I was lying to myself the whole time, trying to get rid of these, floods of emotion. And so Nick's follow-up question for you about that is, you ever get caught in your emotions too much or mistype as an INFP?
I have been mistyped as an INFP. I used to be for some years, and probably past 2 or 3 years, I think I've switched to INTP, the more I look. But in the past, it was INTJ for the longest time. I was like, what? When did I switch? What happened? But honestly, when I think about it, I kind of know what happened. And it was like this sense of, I tell people like it's like an inner calm hit where it's like, I really don't care about the outside world. I mean, I do care, like I said before, like, yeah, let's save humanity. When it comes to like people's opinions and judgments and all of these type of things in the outside, it's like, who cares? At the end of the day, I want to live the life I want to live, not anyone else's. So at that point, I think I switched. Like I am TV. In terms of getting caught in my emotions, not anymore. Occasionally, unfortunately, I'm human. Unfortunately, if
My one
anyone's,
weakness.
it is my weakness. I'm like, if I could just be eternal, that would be great. But unlike a lot of my social medias and other places, I think my name was Robot Gal, which I've kind of been switching over to something else. But for years and years, all my friends were like, "You're a robot as well." There was no question about it. They're like, "You have this stone cold look, and it's all about facts." And they're like, "Alia, it doesn't always have to be about facts, and you gotta feel things." And I'm like, "No, it's a distraction." It wasn't so much of trying to take care of other people to protect myself or like anything like that. It was like feelings cloud your judgment. And so I was like, we're not dealing with this at all. It's like, we're shutting this down. We're building walls up because I want to be the most rational as possible. I want to make the best decision as possible overall, not just for myself, but for whatever entity or whatever that we're looking to find a problem for. And so, um, yeah, I try to block them out most of the time. I try not to let my feelings get involved, especially if it's with something that it's important to me. Now, in terms of like just day to day being normal human stuff, I mean, I guess I get like really snarky if I'm close to somebody. That's how I kind of show it. But it's like super happy, cheesy, super cry. Like I don't cry. I don't really get angry. Like overall, I'm pretty like in charge of my emotions for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I watch anime, though, I'll cry. When I watch.
Everybody's got their thing.
Yes.
In my ENTP father-in-law, he cries all the time watching TV. Like, yeah, just constant. I guess not constant, but it comes up quite often. I'm like, that's cool. I don't know. Like I have a strict hold on that. It doesn't come out too often.
Same. I'm more likely to cry
to.
if I'm angry than I am if I'm sad. If I'm sad, I would be fine. If I'm angry, then it's like it stresses me out so much that the fact of just being angry upsets me because I'm like, oh, I can't control this emotion. And so it just frustrates me more on top of whatever else is going on. And then I'll get all like upset and cry. But in terms of like, oh, I'm sad, I'm going to cry, it doesn't happen.
How aware are you of your feelings?
Extremely.
Yeah.
I'm overly aware of everything that I do, which again is a blessing and a curse. So it takes you to a point where it's like, yeah, I can control a lot of things in terms of how I react to situations and with people and stuff like that. But it's also like if I make a wrong move or like an awkward situation or like, oh, I could have did that better, then it's like constantly on my mind forever. So it's a thing. But like I'll notice, and there'll be times where I joke with a lot of friends a lot about like, oh my God, I have feelings. This is bad because it's just so distracting. And it's a good thing having feelings, I guess, and feeling your emotions. It's like human. You're supposed to. I get it. But it's so distracting where you're trying to like do things and get stuff done. It's like I can't. Juggling both of them is just a lot. So like,
yeah,
usually just kind of try to push them to the side as much as possible.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Like, just like why bring emotion into it? Emotion will just muddy the water, and then you can't actually get to the correct decision because of that.
I even recently I was in a situation where for my school I'm on like student council, and usually I'm just more of a, I guess, council member, right? Listen to things. I observe from a distance. I don't jump into things. I just watch what's happening, make my analysis, take it back later, come up with ideas. But one of the things that frustrates me most is even just regular internet arguments, right? It's like, is this right or is this right? And then people get in their emotions and are like just getting mad and going back and forth. And I was like, all right, people, but what's the solution? Like, you saw the problem, but now you're arguing over minute details and you have completely forgot the fact that we're trying to solve something here. And that like frustrates me more than anything. It's like, why bring up a problem? Why talk about this thing if you're not actually working to fix it? Then you're just wasting time and energy.
Yeah, that was one of the questions actually I was thinking about asking you. It's like, how important is it to fix problems in your life? Like, is it a drive for you?
Yeah, it's a thing. I'm a fixer.
Fixer and a builder and an alchemist, a magician.
Yeah. I am. Yeah, I like to create things and fix things and improve things. Like, even just as a basic example, when I order furniture or go get furniture, I never tell them to build it for me. I was like, just give me the parts and I'll do it myself. because it's just fun to build stuff. But yeah, I definitely am a problem solver. Like whenever something comes up, my first thing is, well, what went wrong and how can we fix it? Because I don't want to deal with this issue no more. So I'm always working to try to solve problems, help people improve. I said even now my job is troubleshooting, where I come to work and they're like, hey, this thing is broken, fix it. And I might get like a hint or two, and like it's generally this thing, but at the end of the day, it's down to me to like rip it apart. There's like that process called back engineering. That's kind of how I work. Whereas I would rather have something as a whole unit put in front of me and tell me, and I can just sit there and rip it apart piece by piece, make sense of it, and put it back together. Works perfect. But if you're like, here's all these pieces, put it together, it's like, yeah, I can, but it doesn't give me that same sense of how things work together if I'm making it from scratch versus seeing it broken down and finding the problem to fix. Because then from then on, not only do I understand how it works better, but I understand how to fix it when it messes up again.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that a lot with like ISTPs as well. Like just take the car apart so that they can, fix the light and then put it all back together. And like there's an innate joy in that of kind of getting down to the root of the thing from the whole and then kind of putting it back together.
Yeah, it makes most sense that way. If you understand down to its smallest detail, then from then on you should understand everything else.
Yep. Spoken like a true INTP. Cool. All right. Trying to think of some other stuff that we kind of hinted at, but it's all over the place.
There's some.
What's that?
I can talk about random science, tech, personality stuff all day.
Yeah.
Psychoanalyzer.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what is the thing that like puts you into flow, where you just like lose track of time, that you're just like, I could do this forever. And is it talking about, random tech and science stuff, or is it something different than that?
There's a couple different things. Recently I have noticed that talking about like personal development, growth, progress in terms of self and humanity has become bigger. I guess that's that Merlin side coming out where I'm like, I want to teach people things, which I don't know how to feel about. But that was never the goal. I was like, I'm not ever going to talk to people. Now I'm like talking to people.
Got to come down from the tower sometime.
Eventually,
the like mage tower, right? With all the books and all the knowledge and stuff.
It is something I noticed recently where I'm like, what's the point of having all this knowledge and knowing all these things if you're not going to either teach it to someone else or create something from it? So that's been a bigger thing for me lately. But also, let's see, what gets me in the zone, I do programming. And so that sucks me in because it's just math and science and problem solving. Like all coding is like solve the problem. And I'm like, cool. So I tell it it consumes me is what I say, because I'll forget like I'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna fix this one thing, and then it's like 5 hours later, like 3 a.m, and it's like I've forgotten to eat food, and like my computer's gonna die. It consumes you. And then reading books does it too, because it's just like I'm very mental, obviously. So
a little bit.
So if you can, my thing is, it's easier to get to me if you interact with my mind than anything else. If you just come to me and you're like, I like your outfit, and like, cool, thanks. Have you seen the show? I guess yes. I'm like, I don't know, sure. I like this food. Oh, I like it too. Like that type of stuff is cool. But then you're like, Alia, what do you think about like the future of robotics? And I'm like, let's talk about this. Anything like that where it's like, if you reach more into the mind, it gets a lot deeper than like surface level stuff. Like small talk, I don't care at all. But hit me with some deep stuff. I'm like, we can do this all day.
Yeah. Okay. And so do you like, is it better for you? Like for me, like I can play in my mind with ideas and stuff all the time. But if I am with another like ENP, for example, or somebody that like is more outgoing with their ideas and like just kind of creating like really fast back and forth ideas with another person, like, oh, it's like kind of like this, and then you got this other thing and this, like it's this explosion of energy that has definitely like been something that I aspire to create more and have more within my life. Are you kind of like that, or is it more like within your own ideas, your own head?
It's definitely
Does
in
that
my
make
head.
sense?
Yeah, it's definitely in my head. I see other people do different sorts of things, and I was like, could I? Technically, yes. Do I want to? Not so much. Which is probably one of my probably personality type struggles. Is it's very much what do I want to do, and if I don't want to do it, then I don't care. Just to keep it real. I mean, that might just be a human thing too, but it's like no matter if I know it's possible or not, and if I can do it or not, because I have full ability in my skills to learn things and figure things out and do all of that. It's just like I really don't want to learn how to do that.
Right.
So I don't know if it's something I aspire to. I feel like it's just not something for me. You know, could I, like I said, I could do it, and I see other people do it and be good at it, and like, yeah, I'm sure they could teach me how to do it, but I just am not that person. It just goes against who I am, being very super outgoing, super bubbly, super whatever. It's like, at the end of the day, like sales and marketing, I despise. Like, I get it, I understand the purpose, but I will refuse to really put a lot into it because I'm one for more the product, the content, the knowledge, whatever should sell itself. So for me to go out and scream it to the world, it to me feels like it's demeaning its value. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I've gone through that myself in many ways. Like with Geek Psychology, I have like 450 videos, and I never like marketed it or anything like that. I was like, I'm not going to share it on Reddit. I'm going to let it do its own thing. And I think last year I kind of switched over. I see my internet's having issues. Last year I kind of switched my mentality to it's not going to sell itself. You know, if I build it, they won't come type thing. Like I need to, and I kind of switched it to like, it's my mission to get it out to more people. Like I'm not helping enough people if I'm not intentionally sharing it. And so I think there's probably a version of that with you as well. Like you have, you know this thing, but by you not sharing it to the world, you're not helping, expand human potential or, whatever your version of that is. That's a hard one to do though. It's not an easy step for sure.
Because like I mentioned before, I do a tech show every Saturday, partially because I like tech and show other people tech and get them interested in it, and then partially because I'm an ambassador at my school, and we'll have meetings like every week about like, oh, this is the next plan, or this is how do we grow, and we'll do different exercises for like outreach. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's like, oh, message 10 people and invite them. I'm like, I'm not I can't do it. But you want me to just put out like a quick blast post like, yeah, every Saturday at this time I do it? Sure. Then it's a little more passive, and it's like, if you want it, it's available. But to throw it in your face, I'm like, it doesn't work for me. And but that's something they did tell me as well, where it's not like I'm trying to. At one point I did door-to-door sales for like a week, and it was horrendous. Never again.
Yeah, I did that too. It was awful.
It was awful. But It feels
Never
like
again.
that to me. That whole marketing thing. It feels door to door sales. Like they don't want this, and you're forcing it in front of them. It makes them like it less.
They don't
So,
know they want it.
and that's the
They don't
thing.
know how important it is, right?
And it's that where it's like you have to think. It's not like I'm trying to sell them anything. Where I'm like, buy this, buy this, buy this. I'm just giving out free knowledge, free education, just talking, empowering other people. So you're just helping people for free. And it's something that you should spread out. So I'm like, all right, I'm trying. It's a process. I was like, I'll put it out there still. I'm probably still not one to reach out to people like blow everybody's inboxes up every week about it type thing. I was like, yeah, I'll put it out there on different platforms and every week and say that it's a thing that's going on. But I'm definitely not like super aggressive like those stockbrokers on Wall Street type thing. I'm like in your face, in your face. I can't do it. I can never.
Yeah. Okay. So I have kind of two things I want to talk about. One, do you have any guiding principles like truth or fairness that are just like, this is just what I stick to? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what are those? If you got them like top of mind.
I used to write these down.
Oh yeah.
I used to write everything down. Lately, I've been a little slack on that because I'm so in my head. But definitely, truth is one of them. It didn't used to be. Like as a child, I was bad because I was like, I'm smart and I can do whatever I want and I can experiment however I want. And who cares what anyone thinks as long as I get the result. So I did whatever it took. But now, I think as I've gotten more knowledgeable of the world, more into data as well as and just research and development, it's like who does it actually help? Because it really doesn't help anybody. It's betraying the other party. It's not helping them in any way usually. And then it's like when you lie, you're like putting yourself in a bad situation, and then you have to remember what it is. Like it just messes up any potential for progress. So I don't do it anymore. I just don't have the energy or time to I'm like, look, here's the truth. You can take it or leave. If you don't like it, sucks. So definitely truth. I don't really want to say fairness because that's a little tough. I don't think life is fair, so I don't think I can really be fair. I try not to inconvenience or harm other people. So maybe like that, where it's like do no harm. I think it's probably one. Where it's like, of course, if a situation came up and I had to defend myself, that's a whole different thing. But just going around intentionally, emotionally, physically hurting people, I don't do it. And then mental growth or like knowledge. Just
knowledge.
Generally learn as much as possible, be as capable as possible, skilled as possible, so that one, I just want to reach my maximum potential, to be honest. I just want to get as high up as I can in terms of just knowledge, and then also share it with other people. I said, whereas you never realize the influence you have on others most of the time. And it's shocking because sometimes you're just like, yeah, I'm just out here. I know someone reached out to me the other day, like, I don't understand half the stuff you talk about in terms of technology, but you're really out here, you're trying to inspire people, and like it inspires me. So now I'm doing this thing, and it's really nice. But it's just that idea of, at the end of the day, I want to put myself in a position to get more of what I want, to get out of situations I don't want, to help other people move forward in life. And I think a lot of those things just revolve around the idea of knowing as much as possible, whether it's book smart, street smarts, secrets to the universe. Yeah, so I think those are probably my like main ones that I stick to.
Okay. Yeah. Do you see knowing more as a way of proactively or reactively getting yourself out of bad situations?
Yes.
or like kind of,
Most
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
The more you know, the more you grow. There's that saying, once you know better, you do better. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
where it's like, well, if I knew this before, I wouldn't have done that thing. Or if I had this information sooner. It's like, we all watch like superhero movies or any sort of action movies where it's like, if they just knew this thing, if they weren't in the dark like 20 minutes ago, everything would have been fine. So is that sort of thing where I want to know as much as possible so I can avoid bad situations in the future.
Right.
I can more steadily control how things go the way I need them to. Yeah, knowledge is key. I know they say money is power, which is true, but knowledge is actually power because, yeah, you can have all the money, but if you don't know what to do with it or how to use it, then it's just dollars. It's just paper from a tree
Right.
with no value.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like another question, I don't know exactly how to word this, and that might drive you nuts, but trying to I want to talk about your comfort zone and like what's that like for you? Because for me, I know like one of my biggest struggles, and this is an introvert thing as well, but is this push and pull between introverted sensing, the stabilizing guardian that's like checking in with my quest log and the stuff that happened in the past, and like this is what happened, it's going to happen again. So just don't go out there, don't do new things, don't experience new things. And then the extroverted intuition, the innovating explorer that's like saying, just go, do, push all the red buttons, anything you can do, just shake everything up. And so there's this push and pull that's very clear within me, right? Like when I was still living in Michigan and I didn't go on the trip to Spain, I think, with my Spanish class, right? Because I was too afraid. And then when I graduated, I went to Japan. Like I moved to Japan, and it was this huge, massive thing, like way out of my comfort zone. But because I needed to understand more about myself, I needed to expand my potential. And in order to do that, I just had to throw myself into a different context so that I could figure out who I am. So I'm wondering if you have that same or a similar experience with your comfort zone and exploration. And is it learning about yourself like I did, or is it more like learning, like acquiring knowledge, assimilating more information and more understanding of things? Does that make sense? That kind of difference I'm trying to get to.
And it is, I'm gonna say both for that. The very last question. It's definitely about me and trying to be more knowledge, grow myself, and then also just like to learn the things about the world. So I grew up in a small town in Georgia. It's in South Atlanta, but it's called Fairburn, Georgia. It's very tiny, very country. It's old. It's an old city. And so when I graduated high school, I think I'd probably only been 18 for a week. And I was like, I'm leaving and I'm going to Arizona. See you later. And I was like, I don't know anyone out there. I've never left the state. I've never been on a plane. I've never any of this. But I was like, see y'all later. And it was extremely uncomfortable. But I definitely believe that you can't grow unless you're uncomfortable. It's just how it works. Yeah. And I still to this day have this martyr mindset because where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of interest in growth in science, technology, and being better. Everyone was just stagnant. They're like, this is how things are. This is how things will be. I wasn't about it. And then just going to school, you're like, the world is so large. And we're just like this dot on it. And it just, I was like, how can there be so many other people and different ideas and food? All these things. It's like the only way to find out is to leave. And I know that, like I said, I'm a very big believer in your environment shapes who you are. And I was like, if I stay here, I'm going to get consumed by the same mindsets that are around me. So I need to leave in order to build my own idea of what the world is like. So I just left. I was like, packed 2 bags and like right after turning 18, even though I've been super sheltered, I was like, I'm just gonna go out there by myself and either I'll figure it out and make it or I won't figure it out and I'll come back home. And part of it, like I said, is to see what's out there, just like live life, try different things. Part of it was to grow myself, like in terms of my mindset, my views of the world, how I go about life. And then also to set an example for those behind me. It's like when you're a pilgrim, when you're a guinea pig, when you're the first one out there, the pioneer, that's what I'm looking for. When you're the first one, it's harder for you because you have to go through all these other things, right? But it's like you're still showing the people behind you or other people that it's possible. And I think that was the most important thing for me, is showing like my brothers, my nieces, my nephews and such that are younger than me, that like there is a bigger world out here. And yes, it is hard. Yes, it can be scary, but it is possible to do as long as you have that resolve. It's also like a big reason for going out of my comfort zone, is just knowing that not only will it most likely help me improve, even if like in the moment it sucks and I hate it with a passion, I know in the future I will probably be happy that I did it. So in that sense, and then just like, you never know what you'll learn. You never know who I'll learn from and run into, or who'll run into me and learn from me. So it's something I try to like go outside of. I'm probably the most productive, lazy person you'll ever meet because I really want to stay in my life and just lay around all day and do nothing. But once I get going, it's just like full throttle, breaking through walls like the Kool-Aid man, and just full throttle.
Is it an inspiration thing that gets you productive and motivated, or is it something different? Like for me, when the muse hits, or when I just feel like all my parts are aligned, and like all the characters within me are like, this is the way we're going, then I feel like I can just do anything, and like there's no stopping me from I guess completing my goal, or at least going in the direction with as much passion and fervor as possible. But it's a matter of getting to that motivated place, I suppose. But
yeah, it's more of like, I like to see my own growth. I like learning things at the end of the day. I like achieving things. I won't say I'm super competitive. Well, I'm not super competitive, but I definitely like to achieve things, to put it that way. I'm not gonna
for yourself?
Mostly for myself, yeah. I'm sure there's other circumstances where I probably want to just like, oh, look at me, I did this. But most of the time it's like me telling myself that like, you were able to do this. So kind of like me inspiring myself in a sense. Where it's like, I know that it's possible. And then I need to not only believe that it's possible, but I have to prove to myself that it's possible. Yeah.
It's kind of more problem solving stuff, isn't it? Like you see how it could be, and then you just gotta like get it like, to that point. Yeah.
Like, I know, I'm pretty sure that I can figure this out, hopefully. And then like 4 hours later, I'm like, wow, I really did figure that out. That was great. And then it gives you your own, like, it boosts your own self-esteem. Because most people, I think, their self-esteem is based off other people, which, I mean, we live in a society, so, like, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, you can inspire yourself when just looking back at where you were in the past to where you are now, thinking about, like, even myself, I said I self-reflect a lot, probably too much sometimes. Definitely too much sometimes. And but I use it as like thinking back like 2 years ago. It's like, oh, I was there. I could have made this decision. I could have did this. I could have been here. At the same time, it's like, well, think of where you were compared to where you are and how much you've grown in the interim. Say it's only been 2 years and how much you've grown. Now think as a continuance. 2
Mm-hmm.
more years from now, where could you possibly be?
Yeah.
And just like that type of thing. And it's like, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, I tell people this all the time because people occasionally reach out and they're like, well, how do I get to this point? Or how do I learn this? Or I want to be like
Mm-hmm.
this, but it's so hard. And I was like, it's not, when it comes to progress and being a good person and moving forward in life, it's not like you have a scale and it's just like a boulder drops on one side and suddenly you're great and you know things, you're successful. It's not how this works. It's like sand drops, where it's like every day you have a bajillion decisions. Are you going to do the right or the wrong? Are you going to learn? Or are you going to be lazy? Are you going to do whatever? And each little decision puts just like a little grain on one point or another. It's like, as long as you keep your eyes on your goal and you're just like keep moving forward. So I always tell people, just keep moving forward. Like, yeah, it's hard and it's tiresome. We don't want to do it. But as long as you're like constantly working for it, whether it's extremely actively, like I do too much, or it's extremely passively or whatever, as long as you're just constantly doing one little small step here and there to move to that goal, then it's like you're gonna get there. Who knows how long, but you're gonna get there at some point.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That 1%, just every day, just a little bit of an improvement.
Keep adding 1%, you eventually will get to 100.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think of it just in gaming, like RPG terms. You know, you got to go out and get experience if you're gonna slay the dragon, right? Like you just need to do that grind of taking on different quests, of following wherever those story arcs go, and you get some loot along the way too, right?
But, yeah, that's exactly how I see it. Is that, you know, I read a lot of, and I still do read a lot of like fantasy books, RPG games, things like that, or adventure-y. And I'm always on this mindset of, maybe not as much now because I'm a bit older, but when I left home, it was like that, I don't remember what it was called in books, but a lot of fantasy books where it's like, you're a man now, you have to go out in the world and slay a dragon and come home, and then you show your, like, the hide of the dragon and now you're a man type thing. I had that mindset when I left home. It's like, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'll come home and show the prize, and it's like, you made it. And it's nice, but the more time goes, it's like, it's not a straightforward journey. It's like you have side quests, and you have like, I'm gonna just sit over here and fish for like 12 hours, or I'm gonna like go kill these same monsters like 3 days straight. Eventually I'll get to the boss if I can find someone who can help me achieve it. Stuff like that. So yeah, I heavily like relate my online life to my real life. It just makes sense to me.
Yeah, it works. It's the analogy is definitely a glue of, you know, piecing together these different motivations and understanding so that you can actually take the steps that you need to.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kevin, again, for the donation. Thank you very much. Thank you for helping, as always. We got a question here as well that I want to hear your opinion on as well. So he said a lot of his parts are scattered, and any suggestions about getting all the parts to line up and work together. So what Alia was talking about, to me, it sounded like just I'm kind of jumping around in my head for ideas, but like she was saying that the goal, correct me if I'm wrong, the goal was like really motivating, like to get to this mastery, to get to this level of success or whatever it is. Yeah. For me, something that has kind of aligned my parts has been not to reach for that, like, although I do want to reach my potential, you know, but to not regret not having done things. So I work in a away from motivation, definitely a lot more than a towards motivation. And that has gotten my parts, my characters aligned a lot better to say, like, you know, we're all going to suffer. All of my internal parts and everybody else that I'm connected with are going to suffer I'm going to regret my life. I'm going to wake up 30, 40 years from now or whatever and just be like, oh man, I never did any of that stuff. That feeling is way more motivating for me than saying like, yeah, I've got all this stuff. So it's a weird angle to go at it, but that has definitely helped me see like how I can bring all my skills together in a better way to not live a life that I would regret.
I definitely contemplate on this a lot.
Me too.
That's all I do is think. But it works out most of the time. And my thing, I think motivation is completely different than what I'm kind of talking about. Over time, I kind of view motivation a bit more, I don't want to say mainstreamy, even though that's what I want to say. I guess it is what I said. But I think it gets a bit too focused on society, on standards of other people, and on materialistic success. And so I stopped kind of caring about motivation. Plus, and even in the sense of like, oh, I need to get motivated to go to the gym. Like, no, you don't have to be motivated. You just have to think about what you want, and then it'll make you go. Like, I want to be able to like jump over a fence if like zombies were chasing me. So I'm going to the gym to prepare.
I think so. For my version of this, like, I want to not be the one that didn't jump over the fence and regret that.
Mine is more just like, I don't know. It's like I just want to make sure that I'm prepared. And I focus more on purpose than motivation, I think is what it is for me. So who knows all the way what my purpose is? I'm still contemplating that too. We're working on that one. But I focus more on like dreams than goals. Goals are the steps on the ladder and the dreams are at the top of the mountain. So like my dream, one of my dreams, let's say, is to start an inventions company. I don't know if anyone's seen like Meet the Robinsons, which is a Disney movie about robots in the future. It's one of my favorites, as well as Wall-E and Chappie and Big Hero 6, but all the robot movies.
Anything with robots.
I love robots.
Sure.
But one of my dreams is to start a company where I can just go in my lab every day and tinker and play with robots and build stuff. And I like put it out in the world like, hey, marketing guy, here's this thing that I built, go sell it. And then I go back to the lab type thing. That's a dream of mine. And so I just keep that in mind of what I want. And then I constantly just do little things to it. So it's like, do I have a bajillion dollars to just go start an inventions company? No. But can I today at least give 1 or 2 hours a week to learning robotics or to working on a robot that I'm going towards, or just talking to people about like, hey, I'm, like I said, doing my tech show, or I'm writing about technology. And it's like, is it anywhere near that level? No. But these things are slowly building up to either make me more knowledgeable or giving me more resources or making more opportunities to where it will eventually build to that. So that's what I would say in terms of like trying to keep the pieces together. Is people used to tell me when I walk, I like to walk a lot, but I walk looking down at the street or the sidewalk. So I'm too focused on the path, which is good, I guess. You like can see the obstacles in your way, but you can't see where you're going. And therefore you might make a wrong turn, you might bump into stuff that you don't see coming, and you're not really, you don't have that light in your eyes to really go for what you want. You're just focused solely on not, focusing on not making the right, or focusing on avoiding problems isn't the same as focusing on making solutions. They're different. Yeah. So I think that's really what it is don't focus as much in like trying to not be, or trying to make as little mistakes as possible. It's more just like, you're going to make mistakes. It's just how it is. We're human. Yep. It's annoying, but it is what it is. We're going to make mistakes. But it's like, can you recover from them? Can you adapt to those bad situations?
How do you do that? How do
Um,
you adapt? How do you
it's
avoid
partially
obstacles or get over them or go around them or go under them, whatever the metaphor?
um it's partially practice. I think, like I said, for me, it was almost like accepting the fact that it was going to happen.
Mm,
Like with anything, once you accept that it's true, then you can deal with it a lot better. And once I realized, like, all right, these things that happen, yeah, they might be me, but if they're my problem or if it's a result of me, I've now seen that it was my fault. I won't do
mm,
it again.
mm,
Or I'll find a different way to do it in the future. If it's something that happened outside of me that I couldn't control, yeah, it'll upset me. But it's like, this was not my fault. Um, and I think that helps me move forward with it as well. And like I said, being focused on the solution. Don't get caught up in, um, like even today with the stream, that outage that happened, like right before the show, my internet,
yeah.
all like the internet, my community went out. And I was so frustrated. I was like, why? Why? And I was about to like snap. Then I was like, this isn't my fault. There's nothing you can do about this situation. You can't make it go faster. You can't tell the text to get their butts moving. You
Sure.
fix your internet.
Hmm.
It's like, especially someone who works on stuff, it's like, I know it takes time. There's
Hmm.
nothing I can do about the current problem. So let me focus on how can I resolve it instead. It's always like, once I realized that I need to focus on the solution, then I had like 8 different ways in which I could come up with to fix it. And then that's when you start getting to, all right, what's the best one and ranking it and trying out different things. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's really, I think, how you adapt to stuff is, first and foremost, don't focus on the now and the problem. Focus on how can I make sure the future still turns out the way that I want it to.
Hmm. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Definitely just having that awareness that there is a problem, and then problem shooting and troubleshooting and seeing like, well, what can I do with all these pieces that are here so that I can get things going in the direction that I want it to go.
Yeah. Don't focus on the fact that it's broken. Focus on how are you going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
You get more done that way.
Yeah, yeah. That's always a difficult one for clients, and I was even talking to my wife yesterday about it. Like, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this. I'm like, yes, but what do you want? Like, what is the goal? What is the actual thing that you're aspiring to have or create or whatever it is, experience? Like, yeah, well, I don't want this anymore. Like, I know, but what is
Yeah.
the actual goal? What is
It's
the
one of
thing?
my
What is
biggest
the
pet
dream?
peeves.
Yeah.
It's when people do that. Where I'm like, all right, I get that, but like, what are we gonna do about it? Well, I don't want this and I don't want that. Like, yeah, but like eliminating options doesn't always get us to the option. It just slightly narrows things down. Like, even if you have to list 8 things you want, that's fine. We can work with that. I just need to like have a basis to go off of, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's an endless list of things that you don't want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to punch myself in the face 20 times a day. Like, yeah, okay. Well, that doesn't actually
Yeah.
get you to the goal. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. One more thing. Sorry, just kind of like rewinding time a little bit.
You're good.
Jason, about kind of getting in alignment and how I work from my perspective. Um, I guess unlocked a lot of my potential by personifying different parts of myself. And this is like
Mhm.
everybody has different aspects of themselves. Everybody has different characters or whatever, different roles that they play. Like when I'm downstairs playing with my daughter, I'm in daddy mode. Like I've logged on to that character, right? When I'm talking to my wife, I'm husband mode, right? When I'm out with my friends, I'm Sherman, right? It's all different like aspects,
Yeah.
different roles, characters that you log on to and play, and kind of identifying those again, going back to awareness, identifying where those are, how those characters play out in my life, and having some dialogues with them and figuring out like what do you want, what do you need, when do you come out, are you doing the role, the job that you actually want to do within my psyche, If not, we need to reassign that. And this is all like parts therapy, parts work, ego state work, which is stuff that I'm not really going to get into now, but journaling to them, personifying them, understanding who they are, has helped me at least build rapport and understand like when I'm doing something that's kind of hurting a part of myself or not in alignment with a certain part of myself. And then working on like my self-talk, for sure. Like just knowing when I'm hating on a part of myself or something like that has definitely helped.
Yeah, I've lots of growth over the years about that. I've always been into, like I said, personal development, and like I've a ridiculous amount of self-help books and all different aspects of them. Self-talk definitely one of them. I'd be like, oh, you're so dumb. And I'm like, no, you're not. You just made the wrong decision. I know someone once told me, it was probably one of the most clarifying moments that happened, is it was when I was waitressing and like an order got messed up or something. And I was like, took them the right one. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And they're like, are you sorry? And I was like, it made me think about like the definition of the word sorry. Like, you're less than or you're worse. And I was like, no, I'm not. They're like, no, let's say you apologize, not that you're sorry. And it just like changed me. So definitely going through that. In terms of roles and things, it's a weird moment because on one part of me, I don't care, like to show everyone all sides of me. Because it's like your opinion has nothing to do with my day-to-day life, so I don't care. But another part is like, all right, well, at the same time, you live in a world where certain things do kind of need to be compartmentalized. So it's trying to find that balance. When you mentioned ego, the first thing that popped to mind was like a meme I saw a few while ago, which was like, it was definitely towards INTP, where it's like, your ego was like sending you a letter, and it was like, be okay with not knowing things. And it was just like triggered. I was like, no.
I will
That's not
never
how
be
this
okay
works.
with that.
Yeah, it's like, it's okay to not know things. I'm like, mm-mm. It's a progress, working on it. Just like, yes, I understand at a conceptual point, a theoretical view, that I'm never gonna know everything. It's just not possible for one person to know it all. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna try. So
Sure.
when it's like information being withheld or out of my reach or something I can't figure out, it shouldn't be something to like stress you out and freak you out. It's like, it's okay. You will be fine.
Mhm.
You'll be okay. So definitely had those moments.
Yeah, that's a necessity. You know, you can't focus on everything, or you'll just get too diffused, and you won't actually get deeper knowledge in the things that are really important to you.
Yeah. I try to, there's always that question of, is it better to be a jack of all trades or a master of one? And I'm kind of back and forth because, yeah, master of one is good, but it keeps you confined to where you only know that one thing. You can't really go outside of that. But the jack of all trades is like, yeah, you own all these things, but there's no depths of knowledge. So you can only do so much. I do think, again, it went back to like Leonardo da Vinci being one of my like biggest role models in life, is the fact that like he was super good as an artist. And they're like, just be an artist. He's like, no, I'm interested in these other things too. I'm gonna bring them all together. And I don't care about what anyone else thinks. And I was like, yes. And now he's just like an idol for everybody. And so I try to think of myself as like a modern Renaissance person. And I think that's really kind of where our society is leading. It's like this modern Renaissance where it's,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't know just one, be a master at one thing. You need to understand all sorts. So I'm trying to aim for master of all trades. Well, not all trades. No. In terms of technology, it's not like I'm going to be an extremely specific expert in this one thing. I'm going to be just like a regular expert in like 6 different things and know how to blend them all together to either make a new field or to be able to touch bases in all different spaces, which makes you more knowledgeable about the other spaces if they correlate. So, yes, it's hard to put it one way. It's a struggle. It's a lot of work, but I do feel
Sure.
like it's fulfilling, especially when you get to utilize it in the real world. Whereas you do get in those circumstances where it's like, oh, I learned this and I can apply it here, and I learned this and I can apply it here, or like I learned this one thing, but like it's a mix of everything else I've done, and
Hmm.
I can teach it to someone else in a better way.
Hmm.
So, definitely comes in handy.
Sure. Yeah. There's always like one kind of motto that I've been going by for the past year or so has just been broaden my schema. Like just
Mm-hmm.
if I take some knowledge from over here, some knowledge from over here, I'll eventually find some way of connecting them, right? And I'll be able to learn the next thing faster or better. And I mean that's where Geek Psychology came from as well. It's like I play World of Warcraft, I understand the characters, I don't understand people. Let's just put them together and okay, this person's kind of like a warrior, this person's kind of like a hunter, like okay, I get it now. And then just adding another modality on top of that, I was able to just get more and more I don't know, expertise in it or understanding of it, I suppose.
Yeah,
So,
I think I definitely do that. Whereas, my sister told me the real world's not like books, Alia. I was like, yeah, but like that doesn't mean I can't use them to make sense of the world. It's like even if it's not real in a sense, even if it's a stretch in a lot of ways, if it somehow can help make sense of something else, then I see it as like a good thing, you know.
sure.
I said like even just going along life, I try to live life like a Legend of Zelda video game. It's my favorite video game. Where
Sure.
it's like I'm always running around the field all day doing nothing sometimes, and then other days I'm like going through dungeons, fighting monsters, and trying to collect loot, which
Mm,
is work, and then
mm,
like fighting bosses when it comes to like what other big challenges come in life, and just attaining new tools and knowledge that can help me later. Like beginning of the game, you have nothing
mm,
versus later in the game you have all these different tools at your disposal that now make everything else so much easier now that you've
yeah.
either learned the mechanics or have just better equipment. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it works, it works.
For sure. Yeah. Just taking all that new knowledge, all that, stuff that you've collected and putting it together to achieve your goals, to slay the dragons, to bring success into your life and to save the world.
Save the
A larger
world.
picture. Yeah.
And
Cool. It looks like we've gone an hour and 20 minutes or so. So we should probably start wrapping this up. Does anybody have any like last questions or anything like that? And if not, then we will.
I got all the answers.
Yeah. She's got every answer. So
Answer somewhere. If I don't, if I figure out the answer.
sure. Okay. Do you have any last things that you want to say? Any bits of wisdom or advice, or just where to find you online?
Um, I will say being an INTP is fun,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
cool.
interesting because most people don't see it as such.
Mm,
Like you're the nerd in the corner of the party. And I'm like, sometimes
that's
yes, if I even go to the party. Um,
right. Hmm.
but it's fun because you just get to think of all these cool scenarios, and usually, at least as you get older, maybe not in your younger years, but as you get older, you're less afraid to try them out. And so it gives you this like limitless potential for literally living any type of way of life. So it's just like it opens up every possibility to do anything. So I think it's cool. And like I said, being like Merlin sounds nice to me. I don't
Sure.
always want to be Arthur out there fighting the dragons, but I was like, I'll cast a spell or two and teach you the things you need to know, and you can go do the work.
Hmm.
And just lately, how I've been trying to live my life, where I'm like, I'll give you the idea, you go make it, and then like come back to me.
Hmm.
There's that advice. Just keep moving forward. Don't let society, the struggles of day-to-day life, other people's opinions, all of that get in the way. I know it's like easier said than done because it is hard, but pays off whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, and you'll be thankful you did it. Other people will probably notice, and you're not doing it for the sake of other people, but it's nice to know that like your efforts are paying off not just for yourself but for other people, and see like that ripple effect out of I affected someone in a positive way, so it's going to affect other people in a positive way, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing, put good out there, good usually comes back, usually.
For sure. Yeah.
Um,
Definitely at least a side benefit.
at least
Right.
a side benefit. It's nice.
Yeah.
Like a little pat on the shoulder. I'm like, thank you. It's carrying the weight of the world, but if you want to just lift it up just a little bit, I'll take it. And then in terms of like where to find me on the internet, most places, because I live on the computer, which is why my internet went out, and I was like, I can't survive. I have to get out of here.
I'll share it all also in a comment as well,
Okay.
or in the description too.
So just as like a brief, yeah, I'll send you all the links so you can post it. But my website is aliaknight.com. You can find out like more technical things about me there. It's more officially type, like LinkedIn. I'm also on there. So it's basically my LinkedIn, but more custom.
Sure.
And then my Facebook and my Instagram are both at Electric Empress, which is in my name on here.
Yeah, cut off a little bit.
Yeah, because a little bit. But it's electric_empress_ for Instagram, and Facebook's just Electric Empress. And on those two, they're more focused on, what did I say? Tech thoughts and big hair. Yeah. It's mostly about technology as a whole, science and space and robots, as well as personal development and like progress. And then as well as, for me, one of my big things is breaking stereotypes of like what a typical nerd is, what a typical introvert is, and like how they act, how they interact, what they look like, what they say, that sort of thing. So definitely in those spaces, I'm also bringing that up where it's like, I'm not your typical nerd. I leave the house sometimes. I guess I do it just sometimes. But things like that, it's like I'm not wearing the same like t-shirt and jeans every day. I'm not like, I know I said that and I was like, I've seen you in this sweater before.
It's all good.
But things like that. And then even just being like a woman, being into tech and being an INTP, stuff like that, like it's unusual, but it's not unknown. And so making sure that like it is something that people are more aware of, like it does exist. It's just different in a lot of ways, and it's similar in a lot of other ways. So
cool.
Pretty sure there's other places I'm on the internet, but I don't want to overbog you. There's a lot. There's a lot of places.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining, for talking about your experiences, just in life and as an INTP, and in personal growth and development and technology and ideas and all that stuff, and helping humanity and saving the world. Thank you very much for joining. And I don't know. Good luck. Have fun. I hope everything works out for you. Yeah, and keep me updated, and maybe we'll get a chance to play Path of Heroes again too.
Hopefully. Things look smooth. I definitely am interested in doing it again. So, yeah. Thank you for having me. Your show's fun. Like I said, I'm always down to, depending on, we gotta get that schedule situated. But I'm always down to talk about personality types, about progress and technology and space, and like literally all the geeky, nerdy things. I'm always down to talk about.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you everybody else for joining as well and commenting and keeping things nice and growth focused as well. All right. So till next time, goodbye. Thanks. See ya. I can't close it. It won't let me. It will not let me. it says having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. So I can't close it.
Yeah. Today is just that day, apparently. I was like, really? Today?
How does one not stop casting? This is goofy. Everybody just gets to watch me. I have no idea what's going on. How do you stop it if it won't let you stop it?
Technology is such a beautiful thing sometimes.
Yeah. Sign me out again. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. Well, I'm going. Yeah, isn't this great? I'm going to just press refresh. Maybe it'll stop it. Maybe it will be like a 24-hour stream. We'll see what happens.
You might just have to just hard shut down.
Yeah.
everything.
Well, it won't let it. It kicked me out of YouTube as well.
I mean, like completely just like, I'm just going to plug the power cord and then everything's immediately off. At least you know that it's not streaming. Worst case scenario.
This is so dumb. You don't have to stay here. It's just going to be awkward.
Well, thank you again for inviting me. I have fun. And go read a book or something. Take a nap.
Right.
Very good luck.
See ya.